My name is Matt LaLonde. I was born and raised in North Pole, Alaska. Not the actual North Pole, but North Pole, Alaska. I was federally incarcerated and incarcerated through the state a few different times for a few different crimes that I have committed during active addiction. At the height of my drug addiction, I was mixing heroin and meth together and injecting it into my jugular vein because I didn't have any other veins to use. I have overdosed many times and revived by people I didn't even know. I have hurt a lot of people by doing that, by overdosing and them finding me on the floor, pale, blue lips, and completely probably ruined not ruined their lives, but certainly put a new kind of way of looking at life and looking at the way of lives of addicts. The crimes that I committed the only reason why I committed them was because I was addicted to drugs. It's not an excuse, but there comes a certain point to where you're willing to do anything to not be sick, and it's a horrible feeling to be addicted to a drug that has so much control over you. It's a harsh reality to come to. So I was introduced, let's say that, and into alcohol or weed around 12 or 13 years old. And I realized that after I have ingested any kind of mind-altering substance that I felt like I was normal. Because my own state of normal, so to speak, in my head, I was extremely uncomfortable, anxiety-ridden. I didn't know how to communicate properly. I didn't know how to talk to other people. I felt like I was the black sheep. I felt like that there was just something internally wrong with me that nobody else could understand. Until I ingested any kind of drug or alcohol. Taking any kind of mind-altering substance and realizing that I felt normal, or that now I had the confidence or their wherewithal to communicate properly and have conversations with people and feel liked and feel like I was connected to people, that made me want to do it more. Obviously, I mean, if you take something and it makes you feel that good, and then that you're suddenly a person that you thought you were inside, that you just didn't know how to get out. I have, fortunately and gratefully, have my father, who I look up to immensely, who has been in recovery pretty much for as long as I've been alive, and he's probably saved my life by not babying me, by not letting me get away with things that I should have, that most people do. Like, because when you baby the addict, you bury the addict. Both my father and my mother were strong enough to know and to not know, but learn along the way that there's nothing that they can do. They can be there to listen. They can be there to try to help me with my problems, I mean, on the phone or anything, but I'm not going to be in their home. I can't. There is a barrier that has been set that I cannot cross, and rightfully so. After noticing or realizing that I had a problem was when I was 19, 18 or 19, and it was the whole Oxycontin epidemic. And I got hooked really quick. It was the high that I got from that was the feeling that I felt like I wish that I could feel every single day. Like this is how I'm meant to feel. This is how everybody is meant to feel. Like, and I felt like that. Like that's how everybody felt in a fucked up kind of way. Like I felt like I was missing something in my life that I'm like, why? How can everybody else function properly and like they're happy in their lives and they're doing all these things and they're not on something? They have to be on something. I mean, there's a lot of fucked up and screwed up thinking that involves in being an addict. I mean, there's so many different ways of thinking about things that make us absolutely insane. Like just the things that we do in order to keep us in an insane part of thinking or an insane part of mind, and we repeat the behavior over and over and over and over and over because we're trying to escape our normal, and our normal scares the fuck out of us. Our normal, we're in fear, we're scared, we are anxiety ridden, we have PTSD. There's so many mental disorders that we try to mask ourselves by doing drugs, by self-medicating, by thinking that we're fixing the problem, by doing whatever the fuck that we were wanting to do. So me personally, I like I said, was caught up in the Oxycontin epidemic, and I acquired, I won't say how, but I acquired a gas card, and it was to a pretty prestigious or large construction company. And the way that I would make money off of this is, so I had like a sales pitch. I'd go to anybody who's, getting ready to get gas, and I would ask them, because I'd show them the card and be like, hey, I have a sales card or a gas card that I got from the state. And if I don't use a specified amount of gallons, then I'm not going to get them again. That sentence in itself doesn't make sense, but when you're in that moment and in that transaction, they think that they're helping me and I'm helping them. They're like, oh yeah, sure. And I'll be like, hey, yeah, I'll take $20 off, no matter, say it's $80, just give me $60 cash. And they feel like I'm doing them a favor and vice versa. And it probably helped that I didn't look like I was super strung out on drugs or anything, that I kind of looked the way I do. So I would say probably 95% of the time it was always a yes. Like I didn't have people that were like sketched out, or they were like, well, what do you mean? They didn't have like a second question or a follow-up question or anything. It was always like, yeah, I'll help you, or help me. And eventually it got to the point so I'm working a full-time job while I'm doing this. And I, even on my lunch breaks, Like I had an hour lunch break. I'd go sit at a gas station, and I'd hit maybe 3, 4, 5 people up, and during those 5 transactions, I could make anywhere from, just on my lunch break, probably to $300 to $500 cash in my hand. All of that is going straight to OxyContin, because in Alaska, those pills were, I mean, they started at like maybe 100, 150, 200, and then they started going up to like $300 a pill. And I wasn't smart enough to save the money to try to get more, because the price was too much already. Like, I could only support my habit just enough because it was so expensive. Doing that every day for 45 days, 50 days or so, I managed to acquire about $21,000. I had a co-defendant, which he got. The total was $24,000, and my co-defendant, I think, was responsible for about 3 of it. But I definitely took off with the card and trying to make money off of it. And I'm working at a small engine repair shop at the time. And one day, the owner comes back as I'm like assembling a chainsaw or sharpening a chain or something, and he's like, "There's a detective up front to see you. You know what that's about?" And I was like, "No, I have no idea." So I go up front, and he's wearing his nice suit and got his badge on his hip and everything, and says, "I'm detective." I don't remember his name, and he's like, "I'm here to talk to you. I'm sure you know what I'm here to talk to you about." And I tried to play stupid. I'm like, "No, what do you mean?" And he's like, I figured you'd say something like that. So he pulls out his briefcase and opens it up and slaps down this vanilla envelope, probably about 3-4 inches thick, and opens it up. And you see my picture blown up. Next one, me, and my car getting out, going up to this first person's vehicle. Next one, me filling up the car. Next one, me putting the card in. Next one, and they're pumping it. And then next one, transaction, them putting money in my hand. And there's just over and over and over and over. And then on this side, there's the transaction list of every single time that I used the card. So every time that I used the card, he said, is a felony. And that was over 500 times at least that I swiped that card. So I looked at him and I said, "So are you saying that I have like over 500 felonies right now that I'm going to be facing?" And he said, "Well, due to the sheer amount of money that you have acquired off this gas card, the FBI is going to be taking this up, and they're going to be continuing this investigation, but I'm going to need that gas card from you right now." And I said, "Yeah, no problem. Here you go." And then he said, "So since the FBI is going to be picking this up, that you're going to need to check in at the Federal Bureau of the Fed House, or the Federal Bureau of Investigation Center, and check in with you're gonna be on pretrial." And I think he said you have like 72 hours or so to do that. And so I did. I went to the federal house, federal building, and I checked in with my first PO, and she said that I'm going to be on pretrial until the investigation is complete, and that she's going to try to, give me some rehabilitation. She wants me to do UAs. She wants me to do blah, 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 blah. And so gives me a UA right there on the spot. Obviously, I fail. I have opiates in my system. And she said that next week when you come back, you better not have opiates in your system. Like, well, any opiate user knows that you can't just be like, okay, I'm not going to do it anymore, and then just stop. You feel like you're going to fucking die. It's the worst pain I've ever felt, and I never want to feel it again, and I hopefully never will. It's, your bones fucking ache. You feel like you have the flu, you have hot, cold flashes, you sweat and you're freezing, it's just every single kind of flu symptom times 10, plus more. Like, it's just literally the worst feeling. So for her to say, like, the next time you come in, there better not be, like, no. I'm not going to do it. So what I did is I would start to dilute my UAs by either flushing my system by drinking lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of water, or I would get fake piss, stick it to my leg, and then put it in there. That worked for a few weeks, 3 or 4 maybe, and she caught on because she's like, it looks like your pee is too clear. It looks like you're diluting. I see this all the time. I was like, I'm just hydrated. What is it against the law to be too hydrated? And the investigation went on for maybe 5 or 6 more months, and I had my arraignments, my federal arraignments. I met my federal public pretender, and she advised me that the way the feds do things is it's a point system. So everything that you have gotten in trouble in the past is going to be counted towards your sentencing. So, like, my driving without a license, I had like 4 of those. A theft that was under $4. I think I had a forgery. Little things. And she advised me that my range was going to be anywhere from 16 to 18 months that I should be doing. And at that point in time, I've never done any time in my life, really. I did 2 or 3 days there, here and there, and that's about it. That kind of scared me. I mean, 16, 17, 18 months in a federal correctional institution didn't seem like a fun time. Getting my freedom taken away from me and everything, it was very scary, but in a way it was almost relieving, because I knew then I wouldn't be able to get drugs. I knew that I wouldn't have access to them. It was like a silver lining in a way, that I knew that if I could just get through the withdrawals and then it'd be over, and then I swore to myself that I'd never do it again. Come sentencing day, I was no longer doing Oxycontin because the price of them have gotten too high, and they started switching over to the OPs, which you can't manipulate in any way. You can't smoke them, you can't shoot them, you can't do anything. So I switched over to heroin. So by my sentencing date, I was smoking heroin off tinfoil for probably about a month or two. And I went to my sentencing high. And the judge, in front of everybody, he said that, I have a daughter that's going through the same thing, and I feel like you need rehabilitation more than you need a prison sentence. So I know that we have guidelines for the federal system, and I'm going to give you 3 months for stealing $21,000 off a gas card. And I mean, that was a relief in itself, but still, I haven't done any time, but I looked at it, I was like, oh my god, 3 months. Like, now I look back at it and it's fucking nothing at all. But as soon as he said that, I mean, I broke down. Yeah, I mean, getting sentenced for the first time and seeing that paperwork that it says your name, Matthew, versus the United States of America. Like, that's some scary shit. Like, after the sentencing, they arrest me and they take me to the little federal holding cell. And I sit in there for 3-4 hours, and like after getting sentenced, and everything just starts going through your mind. Like, why am I like this? Why did I do this? I could have done this a different way, or I should have just stopped. I should have did. There's every kind of shoulda, coulda, woulda goes through your brain, and you just beat the living shit out of yourself. Like, you come to a realization, like, because of my own actions, this is where I am. My best thinking got me where I am. Like, my best thinking as an addict, like, that doesn't make any sense at all. Like, after sitting in there and bawling my eyes out and the shoulda, coulda, wouldas and everything, they take me to FCC, Fairbanks Correctional Center, and that's where I did. So we don't have federal institutions in Alaska. So my public pretender told me that the furthest I should go is SeaTac, which is in Washington, not obviously, but it's a SeaTac, Federal Correction Institution. And after going to FCC, I was there for maybe 30 days, just long enough, and plus a little bit more to get back to normal, to start eating and being able to hold it down and sleeping throughout the night, not alligator rolling, and having to run to the shower and run back just to get under the cover so I could fall asleep for 15 seconds or 20 seconds or whatever the fuck it took just to get out of it. After about 30 days, they get on the intercom saying, "LaLonde, roll it up." And it was like, ooh, because they knew I was federal and they knew that, where I was going. And so everybody was hooting and hollering at me and patting me on the back and telling me, like, "Oh, you'll be all right, man. You'll be all right. Don't drop the soap. Ha, ha, ha." And after they were bringing me to... After booking, they chain gang me. Put your wrist restraints on your hips and then on your ankles. and they put me on a little bush plane, a little 2-propeller bush plane, and then they fly me to Anchorage. Anchorage jail sucks, really bad. I was in a little. They were unlimited beds, unlimited bed space, so they had their bunks, but then they have the little boat on the ground, which the only option I had was having a boat on the ground with a 50-something-year-old that was withdrawing from heroin and throwing up and shitting himself and all kinds of stuff. And I was in this cell for 2 or 3 days, and while I was laying there one night and seeing how much of pain and agony he was after me just doing that 30 days ago, I had like a moment of clarity where I was like, I'm not going to be 50 years old and still going through this shit. There's no way in hell. Like, I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, that could be me if I continue doing what I'm doing. Like, I do not want that for my life. And I remember coming to that conclusion, and it stuck, but it didn't stick hard enough. 2 or 3 days later, I get a pound on the door again. LaLonde, roll it up, and because I knew I wasn't staying in Anchorage because it's not a federal holding center, and I was like, okay, finally, I can go to Washington. So I get to Washington, and any prison, federal or state compared to a jail is vastly different. And SeaTac, the one that I went to, as soon as I walked in, I had a group of white guys that approached me and asked me if I needed anything, like if I need any shower shoes, if I need any ramen or whatever, and told me, like, this is, you hang out over here, you don't talk to these people, or you can talk to these ones, don't do that, like, these are basic rules. Because, yeah, I mean, I'm sure you could tell I was new to this. I was 21 years old, coming off drugs and like 130 pounds. I'm still like strung out a little bit. So I get situated and I find my cell, and I think it might have been like 6 or 7 p.m. when I got there, so it was probably 2 more hours before lights out. And I get on top of my bunk. My cellie, he was a kid younger than me, so I'm just a little Mexican kid. I mean, no animosity. There wasn't any kind of. I mean, he was a cool kid. I get situated in my bed and pull up my covers and just start getting comfortable, and then bang bang on my door, and they're like, LaLonde, roll it up. I was like, what? What do you mean? No, well, you have to have the wrong person. He's like, look, check this. He's like, yeah, LaLonde, roll it up. I was like, where am I going? He's like, I'm not going to tell you that. So I grabbed my shit, whatever I had. All I had was my blankets and my fucking pillows. I wasn't there long enough to get commissary or nothing. So I grabbed my pillows and throw them in the bin, and my blankets, and get chain gang again, hip restraints, and then handcuffs to your hips, and then your feet, and then they shuffle you along with fucking FBI agents holding their guns, watching you, make sure you don't do anything funny. Like, what are you gonna do? And all these hip restraints and everything, like, I feel like it's a little overkill, but I mean, that's probably the reason why they do that. This is kind of a scare tactic in a way, maybe. I get loaded on this plane, and I swear, I swear I saw duct tape holding this thing together. It was the shittiest plane I've ever seen. We all get situated, sit down, and 15, 20 minutes later, the pilot's like, yeah, there's a problem with one of the engines. We're going to have to get everybody off, and we're going to have to inspect it. Try again tomorrow. And that made me feel really safe. So I get off, we head back, and the whole unit's all hollering at us and laughing, and they're like, oh, look who's back. And that night, like one of the white guys that came up to me while I was when I first got there, he was like, hey man, I'm making a spread. I'm gonna show you how to make it, like because you can buy all kinds of shit in there. You got squeezed cheese and sausage and jalapenos and chips, and he made a big old spread for all of us, just because he was a cool dude. And that was my first time actually having real food other than just the meals that they serve you. And I don't know why that sticks out so much, but it was so fucking bomb. Then that night again, probably 3 o'clock in the morning, bang bang on my door again. LaLonde, roll it up. I'm like, okay, well, I know where we're going now, hopefully. And same thing. I don't have to go into detail what we did. We all get on a plane, and pilot says, yeah, still something wrong. At this point, I know that if we come back tomorrow and we get on the same plane, I'm going to fucking die. Third day, same thing, knocks on my door, tells me to roll it up, and we get on the same fucking plane. And lo and behold, nothing bad happens. I made it. I didn't know where I was going from SeaTac, but we made it to where we were going, and it turns out that I was going to Pahrump, Nevada. And I only know I was in Nevada because when we landed, I saw the strip. And oh, hey, cool, I'm kind of getting my checklist off of traveling while I do my federal time here. And then I go to, they get you off the bus, and they get you off the plane and load you straight onto a bus. And I ride the bus through the strip, and I'm just kind of in my own world, checking out everything, and just, it was just an experience in itself. I wasn't scared or worried, or I wasn't missing anybody. I was kind of just, in the moment of being in prison, being on a bus, and riding through the strip of Las Vegas. And then we get to, it's a privately owned federal correctional institution, and this thing, it's brand new. It's huge, and as soon as you left the classification center that they were trying to figure out where you were going to go, you turn right, and it's just a long hallway. I can't even see the other end. It was the largest prison I've ever seen. And in these particular units, it's just a line of bunk beds, and then behind that is a line of toilets, and then in front of the bed is just a line of tables, and that's in one TV, one big TV on the wall. And that was the most politic-y prison I've ever been to, and thankfully I was only there for a week. There's you can talk, let's see, there's the norteños and the sureños. You can associate with the sureños, the Southsiders, but you can't talk with the norteños, the Northsiders. And the only way to tell is the Southsiders have a shaved head, the Northsiders do, but sometimes don't. So I was like, how the fuck? I'm just not even going to entertain that. Like, I'm not even going to talk to anybody. I just, like, leave me alone. I'm going to do my time. Like, I'm really, literally on my way out because most of you have a lot more time than I do. Like, I'm just traveling around trying to get out. And there was a mixed guy. He was half white, half black, and he ran with the white dudes. And we had like waffles or something, or pancakes for breakfast, and a little sausage, and little pieces of apple. And he was allergic to, he had like a nut allergy or something. He was like, hey, you want this? He was sitting right next to me. He was like, you want it? Because I can't have it. And I was like, well, yeah, sure, fuck yeah. And a couple hours later, like some skinhead comes up to me, and he's like, I saw you take some peanut butter from what's his name earlier this morning. You know I should beat your ass for that. I was like, I mean, if that's what we need to do, sure. Let's go. I mean, I'm, like I said at the time, like 130 pounds. This dude's, I mean, it's significantly bigger. And I was like, if that's what we got to do. And he's like, but I know you're new here, and just remember, don't accept anything from anybody. And I was like, thanks, buddy. Got it. Not taking nothing from nobody, ever. Was in Pahrump for about a week or two. And they call me over the intercom, tell me to roll it up. And I have no idea where I'm going now. Like, I within the span of what I had left, of maybe 40 days, I have no idea why they're fucking taking me the places that I am, but it's eating up my time, so fuck it. And then they put me on a bus, and I end up in Sheridan, Oregon, where I did the remainder of my time. 30-40 days there. Like, nothing really popped off while I was there, other than I got sent to the hole. Nothing big. I just mouthed off to the warden because they give you a jacket that has a hood on it, and I had my hood on, and I told him to fuck off pretty much, because why would you give somebody a hood and tell you not to wear it? So he sent me to the hole for a week, and I felt more solace and peace in the fucking hole than I did anywhere else. I could think clearly. I could do what I wanted. I had my own do what I want. The shower was brought to you only 3 times a week, unfortunately. And your food was brought to you every day, and that was it. But I got back out of the hole, and then I had maybe a week left. And my last night, I had a new cellie, a guy that's never seen the inside of a jail cell ever once, not ever anything. Like, this dude was embezzled a bunch of money because he worked at a bank, and he was looking to do like 42 months or something, and he was petrified. Like, this dude, he was already in, and I walked in. He was like, "Oh, is this yours? Can I?" Because the way this cell was set up, there was a bunk bed right here, and then another single bed right here. And obviously, I want the bottom bunk. I was like, "You can take the other bottom bunk or the top one. It doesn't matter to me. I'm out of here tomorrow morning." And he was like, "Oh, that's awesome, man. Like, I'm super stoked. Is there anything like you can teach me, or like, is there anything I shouldn't do or not do?" Or blah. I was like, "There's a lot of shit. There's a lot of shit that you shouldn't do. Just mind your own. Don't join a car. Don't do any of that shit. Just stick with your kind. They'll take care of you. Like, just don't accept anything from anybody. Don't give anything to anybody. Don't fucking." It's when you're there just to do your time and you're not trying to fuck around with anybody, people kind of pick up on that. I mean, in my case, Nobody fucked with me. I was just like, I'm just here to do my time. That's it. I don't need protection. I don't need any of that shit. And then I got out of Sheridan, and one of the prisoners actually drove me to the airport 30 miles away because it was a minimum camp. So I mean, prisoners, pretty much had access to do whatever they wanted to a certain degree or certain radius of mileage, and he dropped me off at the airport, and I flew back to Alaska, and I also had 5 years of federal probation on top of that, and through those 5 years, I did not have one hiccup, not a single violation. I started. I had a really good job. I had a truck, a car, a place. I had a lot of stuff going for me, and sooner or later, after the 5 years was up, and they let me off federal probation. About a year later, approximately, I realized that, I wasn't happy. Even though materialistically, I had everything I wanted. I didn't have the connections. I didn't have the love that I wanted to feel for myself or anybody else. I didn't have the hope anymore. I didn't have the desire to want to do better, even though I had acquired everything that I did. And one day I just snapped, really. It's funny, but not funny, being an addict, how crazy our minds can be and what our minds can convince us of doing and making sense out of when it's completely batshit crazy. I woke up one morning and I just swung my feet over and looked at myself in my mirrored closet, and looked at myself, and I said out loud, I'm like, I'm not fucking happy. I'm not fucking happy. And that day, I have old friends that still did drugs, and so I hit them up and got some drugs. And this time I said, you know what, I'm going full-fledged out. I don't want just heroin. I want to do everything. Fuck smoking it. You know what? I want to try shooting it up. And you go down real fast, real quick. In 2016, it's the first time that I tried doing drugs intravenously, and within approximately 2 months of relapsing and doing the drugs that I did, I got another felony. And this time it was for they called it a mix 4, a burglary 2 and a theft 2. So I copped down to the theft 2. They dropped the others, and they sentenced me to 2 years with 1 suspended. Mind you, I had someone that I was seeing at the time, and after I was sentenced, they sentenced me, and then she managed to get me out on ankle monitor within like a few days. on ankle monitor. And then while she would go to work, I would have, because I'm an ankle monitor obviously, I would have drugs delivered to me. And there was one instance where she found me overdosed, passed out in the bathroom. There was another instance where she found me overdosed and with the needle still in my arm on the couch. There was probably 3 or 4 instances where she found me completely overdosed. I mean, blue in the face, white lips, and probably fucked that girl up for a while, or for her life. I don't know. Who knows? But I know that nobody deserves to go through that. Nobody deserves to see somebody that they love practically dead on the floor. That's really scary. And it came to the point where I overdosed again, and she had to call the ambulance. And my parents showed up, the ambulance showed up, and I don't know if it was from me shooting up, or I don't know if it was because of I had a blood infection or something, but from my shin down to my feet, they were completely swollen. Like I couldn't fit my feet in my shoes. I would push down, and like you could still see your fingerprint in it, and so I could barely walk. And so after that overdose, then the ambulance and my parents showing up to this girl's house that was saving me, enabling me really. I was a wreck. I was a mess. I was crying, and my dad took me by my shoulders and looked me in my eyes, and he said that he's like, if I can do it, so can you. And at that time, he has been in recovery for 30 years. And just from him looking me in my eyes with paramedics around, and like me gonna go back to jail because obviously I'm out on bail or on ankle monitor. I'm not supposed to be doing drugs, and he just the way that he looked in my eyes and just how he said that, there was a lot of pain in his eyes when he said it, but he meant it. And so they took me to the hospital. My parents did, and because they were going to try to figure out what was going on with my legs and everything. But it was a ruse. How do you say that? It was a trick. Because they were going to get me into the doctor's office so they could get the cops there, and so I felt a little suspicion because as soon as I walked back out of the doctor's office, I saw a cop car, and I looked at my parents and I said, "What the fuck is going on?" And they said nothing. We need to go to the other hospital. They said you need to go to the ER, and then so I go to the ER, and they're looking at my legs, and then I have 2 cops come around the corner and my probation officer, and they're like, well, obviously you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, so we're going to take off this ankle monitor, and you're going to go finish out your time because you're a fucking wreck. And so they send me to Goose Creek to the rest of my time, which was 8 months, 7, 8 months or so, and prison doesn't, I mean, the ones that I went to, they don't have much of rehabilitation. The recidivism rate is insane in Alaska. There's programs, yeah, there is. All it is you go in there and you learn how to be a better criminal. That's it. Like, you talk to people that have done this and done that, and then you find better and new connections and people that have moved a bunch more drugs, and when you get out, you meet up with them, and it's like, that's all it is. I mean, that's how it was for me, because I still wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to fucking take life on life's terms. I wasn't ready. I did the 8 months and tried to make the best of it. I tried, they have a track there, they had a gym, they had a library, they had classes and stuff, and I tried to keep myself occupied as much as I could. My cellie had a TV, and he was gone because he was a cook, so he was gone for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So, I mean, I could just sit in my cell and watch ridiculousness all day if I wanted to. There's not much rehabilitation in that. I got out. I didn't have anywhere to go. Nobody wanted anything to do with me. This is my second time. Like, you'd think that I'd get it. No, me and most addicts, we have to learn things the hard way, and the hardest way is doing things our way. Our way is insufferable. So I walked to a buddy's house that I knew that was kind of close to the airport, and fortunately, I mean, he's done time before, and I told him that I just got out, I don't have anywhere to go, and he's like, you can stay with me for a little bit, but you got to do it quick. You need to get on your feet. And that's not what I did. I didn't get back on my feet. The first thing I did was I found, I think he had an extra vehicle at his house that I could use, or somebody, or a friend of mine had an extra vehicle that I could use. And the first thing I did was I got a hold of somebody that knew, or I saw somebody that I would just did time in Goose Creek with, and I mean, he was obviously high as hell, and I was like, all right, where'd you get your shit? Let's go get some. And started right back up. Picked up right where I left off after just doing, another 9 months or so, and funny how insane that our mind works, that we think like this time's gonna be different, this time's gonna be different, but it's never fucking different. So I fly off, start doing the same shit, start doing meth and heroin again, mixing them in the same syringe and putting it wherever I can, and then I get a probation violation, obviously, because I have drugs in my system, and I went to my probation office high, and she gave me a probation violation. And in Alaska, they're the way that the PTR, or petition to revoke probation, is your first one's 3 days, your second one is 5, your third one is 10, and your fourth is up to their discretion. You can get the rest of your time. within 3 weeks, I already had my 3. So on my third, so I did my 3, 5, all because of dirty ways, obviously. And I was on my third one, and on my 9th day, I made a phone call to my parents, and I told them that I have nowhere to go. I have nothing in my life. I have the clothes on my back. It's 30 below. I am going to either walk out and just freeze to death on purpose because I don't feel like living. I'm going to overdose because I don't feel like living. I feel like I'm going to do something drastic because I have accepted my life as just this career criminal or drug addict that I had no hope, aspirations, no desire to want to. I felt like my life was fucked. I have this stain on my record twice now, and there's a lot of things that I can't do, a lot of things that have been taken away from me, and I asked him, I said, I need your guys' help. Like, I'm going to die if I can't get help from you guys. And he said, yeah, I figured you'd be calling. Me and Mom have been talking about it. There's going to be a lot of rules that you need to abide by. And I said, I know. I'm well aware. I don't think this is just going to be, a cakewalk or anything. And he's like, okay, when are you getting out? I said, tomorrow at 8. He's like, okay, I'll be there. So next night I walk out and he's there. He's a very stoic kind of guy. Hard to read. I mean, most people that know him, they think he's just a funny, like, very lighthearted and very witty, and like it was a kind of a quiet drive home towards the end, and until I walked in and I saw my mom, and of course she gave me a big hug and we cried, and she tells me that she's like she knows I can do it. She's like, I know you have it in you. Like, you can do this, Matt. We're here now, and we're gonna help you as much as we can, and you're gonna have to do something about it. So I got plugged into a support network that works for me, and I didn't miss one of these meetings for probably 120 days straight, and then from then on I just I began to see my parents trusting. I mean, not just seeing, but feeling that they trust me again. That that they were opening up. That I started to have genuine friends. That I had other people that have had the same problems or addictions, and been clean and sober for 7, 8, 9 years, and I see them, and I'm like, damn. If I just would have stopped after I got out of federal prison, like, I would have been miles ahead. But I just wasn't ready. That's all it was. Everybody's got their own bottom in some way, somehow. it has to be triggered somehow, and I'm not sure what caused mine, but just that last day of maybe potentially doing the rest of my time and talking to this old native guy that was that we were talking to in like the day room the day before I got out. He asked me, what are you willing to do to stay clean? And I said, anything, absolutely anything. And he said, okay, you remember that. That's all he said. And I, after 2 or 3 months, I told my parents that I'm gonna take Vivitrol just so it's a safeguard against me, and so for your guys's, your own, for your guys' own sake, or lack of, maybe if you don't trust me, or if it's just, I want you guys to be sure that even if I tried to get high, I can't. That's what this medication is for, this Vivitrol shot. So I did that, and I did it for 2-3 months, and after about 4 months, I felt like I didn't need it anymore, and I didn't, because I connected with many people, and I went through some rigorous self-improvement on myself, and to figure out some deep-rooted trauma or problems that I have within myself, because trauma is the gateway to addiction, and the opposite of addiction is connection, and that's all I've been striving for my entire life, is fucking connection. Just connection with people, because I always felt like I wasn't right. There was something wrong with me. I didn't relate to other people the way other people did. It was just, and then I come into these rooms of people that felt just like I do, or did, and now I feel like I belong. I've never felt like I belonged before. I never felt like I was accepted for who I was. I never felt like that I was accepted, and I never felt like I, fit in, so to speak. I didn't feel like, I felt like I was looked down upon for some reason. I mean, it might have been just in my head, but that's how I felt. I didn't feel like I was a person that was worthy of anything, really. But now I've found, some self-worth. Most of it, I struggle sometimes, but after almost 4 years now, it's December 2nd, I'll have 4 years of not having any mind-altering substances. It's I've learned that it's it's okay to have off days. It's okay to not be okay sometimes. There's not that, and that's it. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with you. Nothing wrong with feeling your feelings until you let it go. It's been a journey. It's been I don't want to come across as like like I did these shady things to these people just because I wanted it. I was doing it in order for me in my head to survive. Like, whether you believe that addiction is a disease or not, or whatever your view is on it. Like, that's in my mind, that's what I had to do to survive. And it's not an excuse. It's not really a reason. That's just how my brain views it. And I've come a long way from where I was to who I am today, and I have a lot of great people in my life. I have an amazing girl in my life now that, just to go full circle, I'm with a girl that her dad was an Alaska State Trooper. Like, it just blows my mind that most people in my hometown that looked down upon me because of my record or what I've done, that I ended up being with a girl that that her dad was a trooper and never done a single thing wrong in her life. And she looks at me and sees me for who I am and doesn't see any imperfection. She doesn't look at what I did as she knows it wasn't me. It was like, that's the Jekyll and Hyde thing. It wasn't me. I mean, it was, but it wasn't. And I have high hopes for where my life is heading now. We were both born and raised in North Pole or in Fairbanks, Alaska, and moved to Florida. Figured out we don't like it here. It's too fucking hot. And now we want to figure out where we want to go next. And hopefully, start a family or something. I'm done. That was